Hey guys, welcome back to another Spy Family Sunday. Gosh, it feels like it's been forever since I've said that, which is true because it has been about a month since we've gotten the last chapter. But here we are. So yeah, very excited about chapter 87. This was definitely more of a transitional chapter, taking a break to kind of wind down before we jump into the next arc of what Endo Sensei has planned for the series. I will say that I am a little bit sick right now. Hopefully you can't hear it in my voice, but I wanted to get this chapter out because I was very excited to see what's next for the Forger family. So yeah, if you're new to the channel and you're liking the content here, please consider liking, subscribing to the channel, and dropping me a comment. I'm very active in the comments, so I like responding to everybody and discussing theories. So this chapter starts off with Fiona essentially recovering in the hospital. Her arms are bandaged up, and to be honest, she looks quite annoyed, but you know, Fiona always looks annoyed. And so there's a doctor from chapter 67 named Gory. He's in to see Fiona, making sure she's okay, definitely dropping bombs that he likes her, he calls her adorable, and all of these things. And you know, Fiona's just like, cool, that's great, you can leave now. And he's like, oh, it's so cold after I arranged you to have this private room and everything. And so before he leaves, he hands Fiona some VIP medical files for Dr. Forger, and Fiona's like, why don't you just give them to him yourself? Gory sort of stumbles through an explanation, but he doesn't like Dr. Forger. He doesn't like having to deal with him, and so he's basically just trying to brush it off on her. And nurse comes in and is like, okay, you know, Fiona needs rest, you know, you have other patients that need to be seen, an emergency patient right now. I'll make sure that Dr. Forger gets these documents. And of course it's revealed that Handler is playing nurse, and she takes the documents, and of course she's going to make sure that Twilight gets them. And so she's sitting next to Fiona, and Fiona's asking her, hey, have you swept for bugs? And Handler's like, yeah, of course. And so Handler's commenting on how the operation at the hospital's going well, and basically just catching up. Fiona doesn't want anything to do with this. She's like, well, you know, if you don't have any business here, you can go ahead and go, which annoys Handler, and she starts giving her a noogie, and she's like, I'm only here because I have to be. Do you realize how understaffed we are? Plus, I kind of wanted to wear the nurse's outfit, which is funny because I like seeing Handler with a sense of humor. She's becoming more of a full character, if that makes sense. She's serious. We know that she's lazy and kind of a slob, but she also has this funny side to her personality, which I would like to see more of. And so she goes over how, you know, Fiona's injuries weren't as bad as everybody was thinking they would be. The breaks that she experienced in her arms were clean, and the muscle damage wasn't as severe as they thought it would be. So she should be discharged soon. Fiona kind of reflects on that. She's like, oh, all that training I did in the forest for my revenge match with her kept me from getting severely injured. At this point, Handler decides to take her leave, and she wants to recognize Fiona's good work. She's like, I know it was your job, but it was dangerous work. And then she decides to pat Fiona on the head, which is so adorable. And she says, you know, just don't be willing to kill yourself to get these missions done, you know, because as my subordinate, you know, I cherish and adore you. Fiona sort of blushes because she's taken aback by these words of affection from Handler, and she's like, you probably adore me because I work like a dog to get these things done for you. And she's like, I won't deny that. And she just tells her, anyways, you know, don't keep pushing yourself, even if it is for his sake. And then Fiona pretty much just blushes like crazy, and she's like, oh my god, does Handler realize I have feelings for Twilight? And don't really see what happens, but there's a bunch of like crashing and noise coming out of Fiona's room, and Handler's like, oh, so adorable. And then we transition to the Forgers, and Anya's like, Mama's breakfast is actually getting better. And of course, Yora's feeling a sense of accomplishment with this, and she's like, I've been getting up at 5 a.m., like really going at it with the cookbook. And she has like, you know, band-aids and scars and stuff all over her hands. So at least it looks like Yora's getting some more confidence in the kitchen, which is always nice. And Lloyd's like, oh, thank you, Yor. I really appreciate you doing that. This is a big help. help. And in his mind, he's thinking, I need to rest and I have a mountain of paperwork that I need to do. Anya's like, Papa had a mission yesterday. Did he get shot? Anya asks if they're going to go out on an outing, and, Lloyd is basically just saying that he needs to focus on getting his rest following that mission. And he's like, but, if you need any help with your homework, you can just knock on my door. And Anya's like, no, you can just go ahead and rest. And so I love this chapter because we just get this cute moment between Yor and Anya, and Yor's just looking at Anya so fondly while she's coloring, and it's just really cute. And so Yor asks Anya, hey, did you have fun at the zoo yesterday? And she's like, I had so much fun. She's saying that she saw lions and hippos and giraffes, and Yor reminds Anya that she needs to make sure that she tidies up her backpack. Anya sort of runs off and she's like, I totally forgot. And she pulls out this adorable lion plushie that I'm assuming she got at the zoo. And she's like, I captured this lion at the zoo. And Yor's like, oh my, that's incredible. And she's like, yeah, I saw a lion for the first time. It's the king of beasts. Isn't it the coolest? Anya goes on to say, he kind of looks like Mr. Chimera, so I'm going to have them sit next to each other. Of course, Bond gets super jealous whenever Anya gets new plushies. And so he ruffles up his hair, trying to look like a lion, and it's just so cute. And Anya's asking him if he can do, other animals like an elephant. And of course, he can't do that. And he's like, what about a giraffe? And so they splash Bond with some water, and he just looks, I can't even describe the way he looks, but Anya sums it up perfectly. He looks like an alpaca, and he just looks a little, I'm like, oh, poor Bond. Of course, Yor's like, oh, Bond, I'm so sorry, I'll brush you out right now. And so Bond is laying on Yor's lap, and he's just so happy, and Anya asks Yor if she can do the same thing. And so Yor starts brushing Anya's hair. It's just a really nice mother and daughter moment, honestly, which I don't feel like we get a lot of with these two. I know we got it at the end of the Red Circus arc, but it's nice to see that they are slowly developing these bonds. They're a real family, and it's just really nice to see. And of course, since for some reason they don't have security at this house, Frankie busts open the door and he's like, yo, Lord, I got that stuff you were wanting. And Anya's like, hey, look, I'm all shiny and silky. And Bond is in the corner. He's just swishing his hair around like a model. It's really adorable. And so Anya wants to do the same thing to Frankie. She's like, hey, we should make his hair silky and smooth too. And he's like, what are you planning? Like, no, I don't want any of that. And Yor's like, no, we can't do that. If he doesn't have the hair, nobody's gonna know who he is. And Frankie's like, yo, that's kind of harsh, Yor. And so basically the end of the chapter is just all of them sort of bickering about what to do with Frankie's hair. And it's implied that, they're doing this against his will. And Frankie's like, no, Bond, you betrayed me. I thought we had a bond. And the last panel is Twilight coming out of his room to see what all the commotion is, because he needs quiet to focus on what he's doing. And so he sort of peeks out of his room and he just looks kind of deadpanned, and he's like, all right, you know what? I don't want to know what's going on. And he just closes the door. And that's the end of the chapter. And so not a lot of action, not a lot of story progression, but I feel like it was necessary because this last arc was super intense, and we just need sort of a breather, which I don't mind, because it gave us some good moments. We got some moments with Uncle Frankie, we got some bonding with Handler and Fiona. There's a potential love interest for Fiona with that doctor, although I doubt she'll ever give him the time of day. It was a funny chapter. This was the funniest chapter I've read in a while. I love seeing Frankie. Frankie's probably one of my favorite characters in the series. I think he's adorable and he's funny, and it's always nice when he shows up. It's a great chapter just from the point of view of everybody. We're starting to see different sides of people. I like how Handler's slowly coming out of her shell, and she's showing genuine compassion and care for her subordinates and her teammates. She cares about Fiona. Of course, Fiona is, I wouldn't say she's skeptical, but she doesn't allow affection that easily. I thought that was a good moment between them because, you know, when the series first started, you know, like Fiona, you know, we were like, yo, what's going to happen with her? You know, she wanted to take over for Yor and she wasn't listening to handlers and things of that nature. But, you know, things are slowly changing. And I'm glad that we're getting a lot of Fiona. Because I feel like even with her code name Fiona Frost, I feel like even she's starting to change a little bit. So that's always good. I like subtle character development. So as far as what's going to happen in chapter 88, I don't know. I don't know where the next arc is going, but I mean, there's so many places we can go. I mean, we could go into an Anya flashback. We could see what happened to her and how she gained these powers. We could go into a Lloyd flashback. We could go into a Yor flashback, Handler, Fiona. We could focus on the Desmonds. There's a multitude of places we can go. But whatever road Sensei decides to take us on, it's gonna be great. Can't wait for chapter 88. I love this chapter. It was funny and it was heartwarming. And so that was my thoughts and my review of chapter 87 of Spy Family. Thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, remember to be awesome and stay true.